Good evening, everyone. The first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution are known as the Bill of Rights and guarantee the American people certain liberties and rights. The First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. I wanted to focus on the freedom of assembly because I think it's an important freedom that people often don't fully understand. Striking workers, civil rights advocates, anti-war demonstrators, and even Ku Klux Klan members have all taken to the streets and sidewalks in protest or in support of their causes. Sometimes these efforts have galvanized public opinion and changed public perceptions. Imagine the civil rights movement without the Great March on Washington, or the suffrage movement without the ranks of long-skirted, placard-carrying suffragettes lining city streets. The First Amendment protects peaceful, not violent assembly. There must be a clear and present danger or an imminent incitement of lawlessness before government officials may restrict free assembly rights. The right to assemble is of significant importance to United States society as it gives all citizens the freedom to have a voice and freely associate with one another in public under a common cause or shared value. Government officials may not impose restrictions on protests or parades or other lawful assemblies in order to censor a particular viewpoint or because they dislike the content of the message. However, they may impose some limitations on assembly by enacting reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions designed to further legitimate regulatory objectives, such as preserving traffic congestion or prohibiting interference with nearby activities. There have been many court cases dealing with the freedom of assembly. In 1937, the Supreme Court heard DeJong versus the State of Oregon. Dirk DeJong had been convicted of teaching communist doctrine to a group of 300 people. The Supreme Court reversed his conviction and ruled that the right to peaceably assemble for lawful discussion, however unpopular the censorship, cannot be made a crime. In the early 1960s, young citizens exercised their free assembly rights in an effort to raise awareness on segregation. In Columbia, South Carolina, 187 young African American students marched to the South Carolina State House grounds, carrying signs with messages such as "Down with Segregation." Although the demonstrators were peaceful and no violence erupted from the onlookers, the marchers were all convicted of breaching the peace. However, the Supreme Court revised the conviction in its 1963 decision, Edwards versus South Carolina. The High Court said that the government could not criminalize the peaceful expression of unpopular views. A disorderly crowd, or the fear of one, cannot be used to stop a peaceful demonstration or cancel the right to peaceful assembly. Those who protest and march also may have to pay a permit fee as long as the fee is reasonable, and officials do not withhold the permit because of their unpopular views. In 1992, the case of Forsyth County versus the Nationalist Movement, the Supreme Court struck down an ordinance that allowed the administrators to charge a higher permit fee to groups whose march would likely require more public police protection. According to the court, free speech and assembly rights should not become more costly just because marchers may elicit a hostile reaction from onlookers. The High Court also ruled allowed curbs on assembly in its 2003 decision, Virginia versus Hicks, saying that the city of Richmond could make the streets and sidewalks of a housing project off limits to unauthorized people to curb drugs and other crime in the area. Kevin Hicks, a visitor who was arrested, claimed his right of assembly and free speech were violated, but a unanimous court decision said that Hicks, who was reportedly delivering diapers to his child who lived in the project, was not engaged in any First Amendment protected activity. Thank you guys very much for your attention.